Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Smart Indian Agriculture on the Federal.com. I am Vivian Fernandez. Agriculture is not environmentally benign. The very act of cultivation impacts biodiversity. It is also an earth-warming activity owing to emissions released into the atmosphere, the withdrawal of groundwater, and the leaching of chemical fertilizers into soil and water. But we can work with nature to make agriculture less damaging to the environment. Crop rotation, mulching, the use of farmyard manure, planting cover crops, conservation tillage, integrated pest and disease management. These are ways of employing natural processes to improve yields and reduce crop losses. An emerging field is that of biologicals, where beneficial soil microbes are used to aid plant growth and yields, boost their health and immunity, and fight disease causing pathogens. My guest on this program today is Dr. Sandeepa Kanitkar, founder and CMD of Kan Biosys, a Pune based company founded in 2005. It has about 20 products for soil health management, plant nutrition, and the control of pests and diseases. Dr. Kanitkar is an industrial microbiologist. Dr. Kanitkar, welcome to this program.
Thank you. Nice to be a
Dr.
part of this.
Kanitkar, Dr. Kanitkar, plant biologicals may be an emerging field, but farmers have been using microbes without knowing it, perhaps. For example, when they do crop rotation and plant legumes like moong bean, pigeon pea or tur or chana, they are actually employing soil microbes present in the root zone of these plants to increase the soil's nitrogen content, isn't it?
Yes, true, true.
Mhm.
So basically, in fact, it just is a coincidence, I should say, that I'm just writing a paper right now on how important soil health is for agriculture and for all people as a whole. Because if you see the recent United Nations report on soil, it says that almost one third of the world's soils which are cultivated right now are degraded. So if such a high amount number of soils are degraded, soil is just in fact it is equivalent to dirt, if we can say it. So but soil is not dirt, soil is soil because the living organisms make it soil, which is different from dirt. So in India also, in fact, for the recent FAO report, it says that almost 7.2 million tons of agriculture produce, we lose it because of soil erosion and soil degradation. So there has to be a thing which has to, a kind of activities which have to be done for soil health. We see that recently so many people are becoming aware of soil health because that is where everything starts. All those biologicals and everything they stem from basic soil health. Because if soil
Yes.
health is there, then only, in fact, not only biologicals but chemicals also will show their best activity. And the farmers which are losing their profit to soil degradation, that will not happen. And
So
we
what
will
is your
be a
paper? Yeah. So what is your paper all about? This paper that you are writing, what is it about?
yes, yes. My paper is all about how soil is a national treasure and what should the government be doing in order to constructively work on soil health, because that is
Mhm.
very important. And soil health, like any kind of capital investment, how it happens? It happens because the entrepreneur is going to earn future profits. And because the investor has confidence on the future profits, he invests money today. So the same level of investment mindset has to be there for the government, wherein the government can, in fact, work constructively and support the farmers in maintaining the soil health so that their profits are improved. And in return, the national GDP with respect to agriculture can be improved. So I'm writing a paper on that.
Okay. We'll come to the government's role in a bit, but first, let me find out what you are doing. From your website, I find that you have nitrogen fixing bacteria, phosphorus solubilizing bacteria, and potassium mobilizing bacteria. Can you tell us what they do? How do they work?
Yes, so basically, Can Biosys has a huge culture collection of microbes. We have almost 10,000 microbes which have been screened over more than 30 years. And out of those, we have been able to formulate only more than 23 products because recently we have launched three new products. So basically, these products are divided into three aspects of crop production cycle: looking after the soil, then looking after the plant nutrition, and looking after the plant disease and you can say insect pest management. So these products are 90% of these products, they contain microbes which are important for improving the plant health, the plant nutrition, and the plant disease. So we deal in microbes only, and we have the one of the largest fermentation units here at Pune to produce the microbes which are needed for agriculture.
Mhm. And
So
these are
as
all soil microbes.
yeah, not essentially soil microbes, because some of the microbes they live on insects. Some of the microbes they live on nematodes. Some of the microbes they have their life cycle, which is used to control the different fungi. So basically, the habitat is yes soil, but then the applications of these microbes are in the three aspects of crop production cycle, as explained.
Mhm. Now let's take nitrogen fixing bacteria. What do they do?
Yeah, so nitrogen, as you all know, the atmosphere consists of more than 72% nitrogen, and we really cannot take that nitrogen as it is, because it is N triple bond N. That is, it is tightly bound. And for the nitrogen to be utilized and incorporated into the living organisms, it has to be, joined with either oxygen or hydrogen. So that takes place under natural conditions by this wonderful microbes which are called as nitrogen fixing microbes, and these they work at normal room temperature and pressures, because if you have to fix nitrogen from the in chemically, you have to do it by means of the petroleum naphtha gas, and then you have to bind the
Yeah,
nitrogen
ammonia and urea. Yes.
Haber Bosch process. But these microbes, they have a enzyme called as nitrogenase, by which it can convert the nitrogen into ammonia and then incorporate it to the plants. So these are the
Mhm.
nitrogen fixing microbes as we are having. So there are two types of these microbes: symbiotic, which live with the plants, like you mentioned right now, the beans and all, or soya beans and different cowpea groups and all, or fenugreek, and some of them they do not have nodules, so these stay near the rhizosphere and they fix nitrogen and give it to the plants. So many of these you can say microbes, they are used for seed treatment or soil broadcasting, or in fact our company has a unique product which is a very we are pioneers in that field with respect to the phylosphere nitrogen fixation or the foliar nitrogen fixation, which can in fact be used in highly degraded soils also. So there are
Okay.
various means by which the nitrogen can be supplemented to the plants.
Okay. And this phosphorus solubilizing bacteria and potassium mobilizing bacteria, they all work in the same way.
Yes, but not exactly the same way. But then they have these enzymes or organic acids by way of which, see, phosphate is a very limiting nutrient. In
And it's
fact,
not
if you
found in the atmosphere, it has found in the soil.
the soil, correct, very correct. And if you give the single superphosphate or the soluble phosphates to the plants, most of it is converted into unavailable forms. Like in Western Ghats, there is acidic soil. So it is most of it is converted into, say, aluminium and ferrous phosphates. Whereas in the plateau region or the middle part of the India, there is a lot of calcium. So it is converted into calcium phosphates, which the plants can't take. So there have to be some mycorrhizal fungi, or there has to be some kind of microbes which break this phosphates, insoluble phosphates, and give the soluble phosphates to the plants. The same, in fact, way by way of which the potash mobilizing bacteria are also there, because they are situated between the clay aspects, and then they also need to be solubilized so that the plants can take them up in a better manner. So all these
Mhm.
microbes, in fact, they are there in soil, but then their number and diversity is compromised because we don't feed the soil, we feed the plant. And if we feed the plant, then the microbes in fact are lost, so we need to replenish those microbes so that we set the cycles again.
So if I understand you right, these microbes, they actually act as catalysts and then they enhance the efficacy of chemical fertilizers. So are you suggesting that these microbes work in conjunction with chemical fertilizers?
Yes, because basically, if you see the chemical fertilizers, there is a fertilizer use efficiency of each fertilizer. So if you see nitrogen, not more than 30% is the fertilizer use efficiency. So if the farmer spends 1 rupee on a chemical fertilizer, he just gets the benefit of 30%. Now most of it is washed away, and we see what is happening in the rivers, which are in fact full of the algal blooms and the Econia bloom, Pistia bloom. So that is in fact what really happens. So what we really need to do is improve the efficiency of these fertilizers, which can be improved by using organic fertilizers along with chemical fertilizers. And then because you are using these organic fertilizers also, the biofertilizers can work in a better manner because they get their carbon, and they also can get a good habitat for survival in soil and functioning in the soil.
Now let's take the nitrogen fixing bacteria. Since they take nitrogen from the atmosphere and store it in soil, can they be used independently without chemical fertilizers?
Definitely they can be used, but the degradation of soils is to such an extent that you cannot just only depend upon this biofertilizers, as you can say. If the soil has more than organic matter of 5 to 6%, which never happens in tropical conditions because most of it is oxidized, thereby you have to depend upon an integrated approach whereby you have to be India. In fact, not many people they resort to soil test based fertilizer recommendations, which is in fact the key to the best productivity, because we have done experiments with respect to this soil test based fertilizers. In fact, we have the potential to increase the yields far more than any kind of elixir nutrient, which really can say that the productivity can go up by more than 60% or 40% or 30%, because India in fact lacks in productivity. If you go to any agriculture seminar, the scientist starts with India is number one in production of so and so, but then for productivity is number 10. So there is really, in fact, a mechanism to really improve the productivity. If at all we can take some constructive steps to really reach to that level.
Mhm. So what you're saying is that if you use these microbials in conjunction with chemical fertilizers, then the wastage is reduced. So more is available. You can boost plant yields at lesser impact on the environment. So the emissions will be reduced, the leaching will be reduced. So overall, you can improve the environment, the carbon footprint of the crops we grow.
Definitely, because right now the soils are starved for carbon. If you see the soil testing, the organic matter content level, it is less than 0.6%. If the highly degraded soil, in fact, like in Maharashtra, there are some sugarcane belts when the carbon content is less than zero point 0.3 or the EC is more than 1.5. So in such conditions, there has to be, in fact, not only microbes but organic matter, which has to be first of all added to the soil, and then we can expect the soil to have a regenerative approach, because soils
Yes,
have a miraculous ability to regenerate themselves if the
that is
human
right.
intervention is there on a positive level, or if he doesn't intervene at all, then also it is
Yeah.
to a great extent there.
So we have seen soil mainly in terms of its chemical composition. We don't see soil in terms of its physical structure, that is its texture, the moisture retaining capacity, as well as that it is an ecosystem for microorganisms. So we have to see all these three, that it has chemical content, it has got texture, physical aspects as well, and then of course that it is an ecosystem. Now, are you saying that we must use organic fertilizer, mulching, crop trash, and all that, along with chemical fertilizers, so that these microbes can work in a better way?
Definitely, as you rightly pointed out, according to me, the chemistry is already there in terms of the silica, in terms of the rock dust, which is really dirt, as you can say. But then the biology which has to be added, that is first of all carbon. If you add carbon to the soil, then the biocatalyst, which is the microbes, they will create the physical structure. So when you all say physical structure, that is a byproduct of the biology which is going to work with the chemistry and create the physical structure of the soil. So once the physical structure is there, then you can expect good amount of water to be retained in the soil, good amount of air to be retained in the soil, and good amount of biology which can act as a catalyst to produce, to get the chemistry back into the biology, which is the plants. So
Mhm.
that is how really the soil functions. There is a whole system of soil food web which is there inside the soil, and which in fact we cannot study in isolation. You have to really study it in holistic manner, and then only you can expect some sustainability into the soil productivity. Because if you destroy soils, we are destroying ourselves, nothing else.
That is right. So these microbials, they are agnostic between organic and inorganic or chemical fertilizer. It doesn't matter. I mean, you don't suggest that you only practice organic cultivation. You can, actually practice chemical agriculture and use these biologicals.
Yes, because India cannot afford to compromise on its food security. After from a ship to mouth economy, we have now having self. You can say we are survival aspect is not there right now in the food production. We are already self sufficient in food production, so you cannot go back to the approach wherein you stop everything and then you start doing organic agriculture. Wait for 3 4 years and then start. You have to have an integrated midway approach, and then maybe try and reduce the use of chemical pesticides to some extent, you chemical fertilizers to some extent, because you need to give a chance to develop the microbial diversity. See, if you add chemicals, the microbes are going to be compromised. Let us face this. But then, if you are having organic matter, at least they get some spaces whereby the microbes can form the microcolonies and they can start functioning, whereby the aspect of cycles can come in, which can, in fact, be self sustaining. So, we suggest an integrated approach which will not compromise on the food production, but in fact improve the efficiency, wherein you can then to turn towards the profitability approach.
Mhm. So if you are saying that, if you use farmyard manure or agricultural trash, crop trash in the fields, and you apply these microbial mixtures, consortia, then in the subsequent years, they'll multiply themselves and you'll have to apply less of them. Is that what you are saying?
Yeah, because basically you have to apply less of chemicals as well as biologicals. But then what happens is in we are taking the best of microbes, which are competitive, which are getting the best of survival conditions in the soil, and we are giving it to the farmers. So we are giving a kind of a you can say high output microbials to the farmers, which get the results in the fields, which have been thoroughly tested at universities, which have been thoroughly tested in millions of agricultural farms, whereby we create a kind of a standardized package of practices of these microbials, which are functioning in the soil and they are leading to increase in productivity. So
Mhm.
herein after, if the farmer is spending say 10,000 rupees on all kinds of inputs, we recommend that at least 30% should be converted into biological inputs. Biological
Okay.
means microbial plus organic. So that is how,
Mhm.
in fact, we are training the high, you can say, influencers who really are in horticulture to get into this mode. And then the normal broadacre farmers are understanding, because why are farmers using biologicals? Let us first answer this question. If the farmers, why are they wanting to use biologicals? Because they are not getting the same results with the chemicals. So they are starting to see some kind of inputs which might show them results. For example, some pesticides in cotton or in rice or in grapes for control of mildew or in control of other rusts and squash. So there here you can in fact incorporate a biofungicide with respect along with the chemical fungicide, which has a compatibility study, and then you can slowly decrease or increase the distance or the spraying interval between two chemicals. So that is how the farmers are understanding, because they are not coming to biologicals because they understand this whole holistic approach. They are wanting to use biologicals because they are not getting the best from whatever is happening in the current mechanisms.
That is right. See, I was recently in central UP visiting some sugar mills and sugarcane farmers, and there we found that there's a huge infestation of red rot, which is a fungal disease, and they have been told to use trichoderma, which is another kind of fungus that
Okay,
feeds on the fungus that causes red rot. So,
correct.
uh, do we see more of this? Where you use one type of fungus to prey on another type of fungus, another type of bacteria?
Yeah, yeah. This is a normal biological. So when I'm calling a food web, one organism is dependent upon another organism. The second is dependent on the third. It's a cycle of the food web which really functions. The same kind of food web is there in the soil also. So
Okay.
trichoderma, as you mentioned, is a mycoparasitic fungus. That means it eats another fungus, and it's a basic microbe which is the start of any agricultural activity, because
Mhm.
that in fact helps the farmer to not use many of the fungal, antifungal, you can say, agents or the fungicides, and he can resort to a simple biofungicide which he can use to control the soil based fungal infections like damping off and wilting of many plants. So this is a very simple kind of an product which can be used without harming the soil biology.
Mhm. You mentioned that horticultural farmers are your main customers, and not so much the farmers who grow broadacre crops like rice and wheat. Why is that? I mean, is that because these are expensive, or do farmers who do commercial crops, are they the people who come to you?
Yes, so basically, when we started working in this field, we noticed that we were working on the problems which are faced with the farmers. See, you cannot solve the whole problem together. You have to establish some concrete examples whereby the convincing aspect it becomes easier. So we started with the issue of residues in grapes. So in Maharashtra, almost, in fact, in India, Maharashtra exports more than 90% of the grapes to European countries. Many of these farmers they face the problem of residues in grapes, which are in fact rejected at the customs. So there, in fact, we started working in the pre-harvest interval, wherein farmer cannot use any chemical fungicide. So we did not have to fight with the chemical companies, but when we sat in the pre-harvest interval zone, whereby we convinced the farmers of use of these Bacillus subtilis or Pseudomonas fluorescens, which can control the powdery mildew in grapes. So there, in fact, we stated some examples over there. So once the farmers started getting good results, a farmer doesn't have only a grape crop. He also owns vegetable fields and all. So slowly the transition started happening to the different types of vegetables, and then to broad acre crops like cotton or soybean or sugarcane. In sugarcane, the
Mhm.
productivity has come down to from say 80, 90 tons per acre to less than 35. The recovery of sugarcane is less than 10 or 11. So we in fact started solving that problem, because sugarcane farmers they're using more than 400 kilograms of nitrogen per acre. So that is where in fact we started working wherein to reduce the cost of cultivation, to improve the recovery, which the you can sugar factories were also interested in, or the farmers were interested in increasing the yields, because when earlier they used to get 85 tons, they used to get 90 tons. So we established some examples whereby farmers they went beyond 100 tons per acre. So that is the way in which we cite the examples, we create the success stories, and that is how the farmers can understand as to how to use biologicals and get the better in fact results than their conventional practices.
Mhm. And who are these customers repeat customers? Because if they come back to you, it shows that um, you know there's a benefit to the cost that they incur, and the benefits are more than the cost.
See, let me put it this way. The farmers, once they are understanding that he is getting the value at this price, he definitely comes back. So now, if you see the market for these agricultural inputs, more than 10 to 15% CAGR is now seen in biologicals. Each of the agrochemical company has one or more products in biological field. Why is that? Because the innovation in the chemical field is not happening to that extent, because it takes more than 6 years to 10 years to launch one chemical into the market, whereby the multinational companies have also reduced their kind of innovation because the regulatory aspect is growing day by day harder. So now it is comparatively easy to launch a biological fungicide. It may not be giving 95% control, but it is giving 80% control, but then the carbon footprint or the environmental footprint is less. So people are right now trying to go into this sector. So the coming
Mhm.
2 decades have a great potential for people like us, because we are in the zone of growth, you can say.
Yes. What is the shelf life of these products? Because these are all dormant microbes. So is there a shelf life, and do you require special care to handle them?
Yeah, so basically, when we started working with the biologicals, we saw that the benefits which are seen in the laboratory, the farmers are not getting the same benefits because we were not able to stabilize the formulations to a great extent. So many of the biological companies or the biological products, they have very less of microbial count or the efficient microbial count. So then we started working with the dormant forms of microbes, and we had the first Indian patent for production of liquid biofertilizers in India, for which we got the President's Award and the United Nations Award. So, whereby we produced the dormant forms and we could stabilize the formulations for more than 1 or 2 years. And then we registered all the products because agriculture in India, it is in fact having a lot of unregistered products, which really, in fact, is putting a hole in the farmer's pocket. So, as a policy, we decided that none of the products of Can Biosys are going to be unregistered. So each product is registered with either FCO, which is the Fertilizer Control Order, or the CIB, which is the Central Insecticide Board. And now government is coming up with biostimulants, which are important for plant health. So it is in the process of registration, the G2 and all. So that is in fact one of the areas where we are right now working. And soil health, there is no chemical company which is working in soil health. So this is a domain for the biological companies to work in soil health, because unless you work in soil health, nothing is going to work. No amount of market is going to be there after 10 years if you don't work with soil health.
Now, for fertilizers, we give the government gives subsidies. There's a lot of subsidy on urea. There's also some amount of subsidy on potassic and phosphatic fertilizers. Now, since these microbials, they reduce the use of fertilizers and also the cut down the import bill. Do you get some kind of support from the government, and do you expect some support?
We expect a lot of support from the government right now. What is happening is because it is highly a political sensitive subject of subsidy. What I would like to say over here is, for the budget session, and in fact more than 1 lakh crore of worth of chemical fertilizer subsidies right now given to the farmers, in fact is necessary. But then the government should also look at capitalizing the importance of soil health, because that is a long term activity which is going to be important. Right now the the summit which is taking place, and the India has the presidency of the G20. It's really very important for the government to think about soil health and invest a capital in this field, because what the government can do is, government can create good metrics for estimating the soil health, and thereby incentivize the farmers when he takes the loan for his farming, or when he takes the insurance for his farming, or he can create a regenerative brand for the farmers who are not tilling his land, or who are not burning the crop residues, or who are doing something better for improving the soil organic carbon content. So the soil organic carbon is in fact the currency of the soil, as you can say, and that
So
currency in
are you suggesting that the government should promote conservation tillage, no or low till agriculture?
Absolutely, and the farmers should, and the government should find a mechanism whereby they should be able to see, they are incentivizing the farmers, but that is not an incentive, that is a capital investment which the government can later incentivize when it decides to take the carbon credits and share the carbon credits with not only the farmers, but then domestically sell the carbon credits to polluting industries like steel and cement, and then export the carbon credits also. So the government, in
Mhm.
fact, should first consider some subsidy also for this, and then also the incentivizing the farmers. Because just
Mhm.
in fact from 2015, I am talking to the government at all levels, state government levels, the central government levels, whereby we have created a technology to stop the rice stubble burning in Punjab, Haryana. But then the farmers are wanting the incentivizing on per acre basis, and no amount of subsidy in fact the government can think about, because more than 1 crore acre of
I suppose you are talking about decomposers, microbial decomposers. But we did we had an interview on this program on this website with the vice chancellor of Punjab Agricultural University, and they have done a study of 5 decomposers, paddy stubble decomposers, they found that none of them was effective.
So in fact, I'm surprised by this comment because our product was tested by Punjab Agricultural University for 3 years, Haryana Agricultural University for 3 years, and we have showed them the best of effect. And the Technology Development Board, New Delhi, has given us a soft loan of for the project of 7 crores, whereby we have demonstrated this activity on 30,000 acres. So right now, this is a very proven activity wherein it is not just a decomposer, but then we have created a system of use of this decomposer by reducing the carbon nitrogen ratio of the soil, so of the stubble, and thereby incorporating the rice stubble. See, it's not about whether the soil stubble is decomposed or not, whether you can stop burning and you can improve the soil health. That is the basis of this activity.
Okay. Now, Bayer, which is the world's largest plant traits and agrochemicals company, it says it has about 125,000 strains of microbes, and it has put out about 20 products into the market. Is this business capital intensive? In which case, what is the future of a company like yours? Do you expect, can you compete with these large companies, or will you end up getting merged with them?
Maybe initially there will be a lot of mergers and acquisition will happen. Now, right now you're talking about Bayer. Now, Bayer has taken one of our biofungicides for co-branding in India, wherein our product, which was registered, this first biofungicide registered in India was Melastin, which is a product of Kan Biosys. Now, Bayer is selling Melastin its name, because they are doing great work in grapes also. So initially, a lot of these chemicals will look at biological companies, because in India right now microbes cannot be imported. So they will work with many of the domestic companies who are quality companies, because they have deep pockets. They have established a good distribution channel. So small companies can look up to these companies for mass distribution and concentrate on innovation and production, and thereby this market will grow. So there is room for more than 6,000 crores worth of market in the next 5 years, I can say.
So in this food chain, you are saying that there is place for you and there is place for big companies like Bayer as well. Thank you very much. It was very nice talking to you, and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more interesting updates.